All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to another edition of the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. The X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here from the studios of the X Zone Broadcast Network in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220. Streaming around the world on classic1220.ca. And we'd like to welcome our newest affiliate in Midlands, Michigan, WVEX, and that is 105.3 FM. Exonation, my first guest tonight is Joanne AZOO, and Joanne is in Woodland Hills, California. And we're going to be talking about EVP, or Electronic Voice Phenomenon. Joining me now is Joanne, and Joanne, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you, Rob. I'm so excited that you asked me to be a guest on the show. Really excited about it.
Joanne,
so thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Joanne, tell us a little bit about yourself and what road you took in order to start investigating the paranormal.
Well, my son and I both started Ojai Paranormal when we were living up in Ojai, California. And he is actually a seer ever since he was like 5 years old. Mm-hmm. So always seen angels, and he actually knew that my father passed away before we did, and it was the exact time when he was letting my mom and I know that that's what happened. And with me, throughout my life, pretty much I would have precognitive dreams, and I would tell my family about it, and we would actually see it manifest in the news 2 days later. Never had anything to do with us personally, but just like random things. So I do come from a family that, you know, my aunt had telekinesis. You know, my dad was kind of like psychic. He was more funny than anything. But so that's really how it kind of started. And then one day a neighbor asked if they knew that I was like a ghost hunter fan, and asked if it would be possible that she could hear her daughter's voice. She had passed away in a car accident, and she was beside herself and just wanted to know. And she's standing in our front foyer at the time and asking this. And mind you, again, just watching the TV shows, I never really dabbled in anything. And all of the lights in our house went on. My son and I we're looking at her, and we're like, okay, I guess that's a yes. So that's kind of, it was a very like impromptu thing. So I just picked up a regular digital recorder, and my son had a little EVP, like EMF detector. And literally we just like walked through our house, asking questions. And it was kind of very, like I said, very like spur of the moment. I didn't even think that we captured anything. So I did not listen to anything until the morning. I'm like, yeah, I put my headphones on, I plugged it was a little digital recorder, I think from Staples. And, that's like all in one, and just clipped it into the computer. And I started listening. And the very first message that came through was from our neighbor's daughter. And she not only said her name, but she said the town she lived in and her dog's name. And so I got my friend, I'm like, hey, you got to get over here and listen to this. She goes, oh my God, that's her voice. And then and I'm getting chills right now. And then we received literally 19 other messages, not all from her, but from other people. And they were Class A. It was pretty mind-boggling. Well, once that happens, there's like no turning back. And I became addicted to EVP, ever since. And so we ended up from there doing little investigations throughout Ojai, which is, it's a beautiful little town, just before you get to Santa Barbara. It's up in the mountains, surrounded by like beautiful mountain ranges. And I believe, and people say it's a vortex, I have to kind of believe them. And let me tell you, we started doing little things with some of the people that we knew that own their shops, like a little antique store. And they're like, oh, we have a lot of activity. And then it just kind of blossomed from there. And we were getting literally Class A EVP, doing video. My son's a videographer. And it just kind of blossomed, like I said, from there.
Now, for the listeners who may not know a lot about EVP, what is an EVP?
It's the whole long word of it is electronic voice phenomenon, which means that, to me, it's spirit coming through on a frequency that we may or may not hear in real time, but that recorders seem to not be able to hear. And once we plug it into the computer, we're able to actually hear, and they are literally talking most of the time loudly. Sometimes it might be a whisper, but I would say like 98% of the EVP, the electronic voice phenomenon that we capture on recording, is very audible. You don't have to question what they're saying. And like a lot of people might think that, and it might be radio waves, but that they're using to come through, but they're definitely coherent sentences, and they're all validate wherever we're doing an investigation. They validate who it is, who's coming through. On really exciting occasions, their voices may be recognizable to our clients. Mm-hmm. And so that's what that is. It's just like kind of reporting something out of thin air and just hoping that you're going to receive a message. Now, the reason why I believe that spirit is using combined energies, okay, so our atmosphere, but also our energy. And in 2008, I actually was in Egypt as a 2-year survivor of cancer at that point.
Good for you. God bless you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was, let's just say, I know a lot of people up there, okay, that didn't make it, but I did. For whatever reason, I'm not sure, but I guess I consider myself lucky, and the funniest one that's actually living today out of my group of family. But so I went to Egypt and with the friend that lost her daughter, and we went on this, it was kind of like a religious type of a tour of all of the temples, but we didn't belong to the church that conducted this tour out of California. So we went on this, and we were going to all the temples, and the second day we were in the this like 5,000-year-old temple, and we had to meditate. Only my friend and I never meditated, okay? But we're like, okay, well, we could be quiet for a little while. Mm-hmm. So we're all inside before the tourists would be allowed to come in. And so I'm being as quiet as I can. I kind of have, a problem with talking a lot, you'll see. And all of a sudden, I was hit, what it felt like in the back of my head, the top back of my head, with a bolt of fire or lightning. That's what it felt like, and went right through my head, all the way through to my feet. And I had my hands out, and I'm thinking, is this what it feels like to die? Like, am I going to die here in Egypt in a temple? This is what I'm thinking, I swear, right? But I'm being very quiet. It was very painful. I did not know what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard a voice. I know it sounds like a movie, but I heard a voice. No one was talking. I looked around and the voice said, "Do not have fear." So at which point I just relaxed and I could feel like energy just coming out of every pore of my body. And I found out later that people could feel that. And I was able to feel people's, like whatever was wrong with them, like they'd walk by and I'd maybe feel a pain in my side. It wouldn't hurt, but I would understand that. And so I would ask, oh, and I'm like, yeah, how would you know that? Anyway, long story, I became an energy healer. And when I got back home, I had to make a visit to my oncologist because my body actually healed itself. And I guess I could just say it, my ovaries, let's say, popped back and they weren't supposed to. And so my oncologist is like, look, I know something happened. I see something happen. I have medical proof that something happened, but I don't believe it. And so he made me tell him the whole story. And I said, here, you could feel it. It's non-touch. And so he puts out his hand. He goes, yeah, I feel that. And he said, now here's the only thing is I can't let you, the tamoxifen not working anymore because your ovaries were literally, they were not dormant. They were like non-existent. But now they're back. So we have to put you on a different medicine. So I do have medical proof that this miracle or anomaly worked. But I didn't, because I was taking care of my mom and my son. I made the choice of continuing to do medicine. I have faith, but I also wanted to be around, you know what I mean? I just wasn't, I was just like, I can't take any chances because everyone else had passed away in my family. But that's what amplified all of my, like the pre-cognitive dreams. I became an empath and clairaudient. And I believe it made me a better EVP specialist because somehow I believe that energy is just easier for them to use and come through. And that's why I believe that my son and I are successful at what we do.
All right, stand by. We've got to take our break. Exo Nation, our guest this hour is Joanne AZOO, and their website is www.ojai-paranormal-investigators.com, and they are in Woodland Hills, California. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, and we're coming to you tonight on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. Joanne and I will be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. Joanne AZOO is our special guest this hour. We're talking about electronic voice phenomena. Now, as I understand it, Joanne, you cannot hear what is being recorded on the recorder at the time it's being recorded, but you can only listen to it after it's recorded and being played back. Am I correct?
That's true, and it's very strange. On occasion, we will hear a disembodied voice. Or when I'm doing over the phone EVP sessions, I may hear someone coming through, and I will actually say, "Oh, I just heard something," and that gives me a verbal marker, so that when I go back and listen, sure enough, it's somebody coming through. But I would say most of the time, no, and that's why I don't call myself a medium. I don't believe I don't have a mediumship. Maybe it's a type of mediumship, a form of, but I wish I would be able to hear in real time. Can't. But the exciting part of what we do is we do a whole detailed transcript for clients. Everything is free of charge. And we'll do a whole transcript, which a 10-minute over the phone session could result in over 30 messages. And they are very specific. When spirit comes through, they're validating who they are. They're validating things that no one could ever look up, look up on the internet to find out about somebody. They'll tell someone about their childhood. They'll give them a memory about what happened, maybe on the day they died. And they will also give something recent. Like, let's say we had a client that spirit comes through and says, "You were at the golf course yesterday," and she's laughing. She goes, "Well, actually, there was a golf course across the street. Yeah, my brother and I were over there just talking. We weren't playing golf, So those kind of validations, which are very important in so many different cases.
But I'd like to ask you, since you cannot hear what spirit is saying at the time that you're asking the questions, and it's being registered on either the digital format or the analog format, how does that work?
Well, that's a question that I could say I don't really have any answers to, but I just know that they're leaving messages. If I don't hear anything, I'm like, you'll hear me through interviews going, "Don't worry, I know that we're getting messages." So they know, and I've had spirits say, as I'm going through the recording, "Oh, she'll hear what we're saying," talking about me, like she'll hear what we're saying. So it's not going to be an immediate thing, but within an hour, I have a transcript to a client rather. I'll have the whole transcript. How they do it, again, I believe it has something to do with my energy that they're using and the frequencies. But here's the other bizarre thing that, I don't have all of the answers, obviously, but I'm always intrigued by other people's opinions as well. But here's the thing. What's really strange is spirit could change those messages in real time. Like when I'm listening to a message, I'll give you an example. I'm listening to a message and my son will walk by, looks in the computer room. He's like, he starts to wave, and the message that I'm listening to will say hi to Brandon. And then I go, "Oh my God, listen to this," but then it's gone. So it's really strange. So they could manipulate that time and change messages to clarify. And so when I send out transcripts, I'll put preliminary transcript until I do a final cut private YouTube link, because I know there are going to be some messages maybe that I'm not hearing. I'll go with that. But when they're changing them, the whole sentences change, and I do say sentence, the whole sentence is changed, and that's relevant too. It's very, very interesting. So I don't know. It's even changed across even on we used to do the DVDs when we do it on-site investigations. And so we would go and we do the reveal, and we were watching, the reveal with the client her husband happened to be a medium, really great guy, a pretty famous Tom Sexton in Chatsworth. And so we were invited to go do, an investigation during his memorial. Long story, which it is, the wife is listening. She goes, "Wait a minute, who's that lady singing?" And I'm like, "There wasn't a lady singing." And she goes, "Listen." And at the very end clip of the one, the very end of this one clip, I'm like, well, I would have made notation of that. There's no way we heard that. Well, it turned out it was her mother, and that was the song she would sing when her daughter was little. Like, we're talking years, and it was pretty crazy. But it wasn't there when we gave the DVD to her.
Tell me, Tell me about your scariest investigation.
Yeah, the scariest one I would have to say for me was at the Bella Major Inn in Ventura. And we, we have it on our website. We went to that hotel, and it was, we captured so many things, but there was something about the room that was the most haunted or they say it was the most haunted that, I kept getting touched. I wasn't afraid at one point, but again, because you don't really know what they're saying, and I don't process things right away. I don't process those recordings. And I just kept getting this feeling that I didn't want to be in the room. And I just kept feeling like I don't want to, and I even said, I'm like, I don't really feel comfortable here. And it's really strange because we've been in funeral homes, we've been everywhere. I'm like, there's just something about this that I do not feel comfortable. And I even got to the point where before we left the room and I had to use the restroom, I'm like, you guys are all staying in the room. You're not going in the hallway. So, and then when we did process everything, really, it was the lady that they call the moaning woman. She was telling us her name. And really, there was nothing really scary about it. But there was just I just had this feeling. And maybe I was picking up on how she felt because apparently she did commit suicide. And so I'm pretty sure that was the feeling. So I think it was more, she did that more out of fear than anything else. So that's where I was picking that up. But the messages were cool.
So when you and your son go out, is there anyone else that goes out with you, or is it just you two?
You know what? Now, within the last few years, ever since we moved to Woodland Hills, it's just really the two of us.
Okay.
But sometimes we'll have guest investigators. We did have a friend of ours with us for a while. So yeah, it's really generally just my son and I.
So do you just go in and do EVP, or do you actually go in and do a complete and thorough investigation?
Oh, we do. Yeah, we do. If we're doing on site, we're doing complete and thorough investigations, like what we did at the Bella Major Inn and the Glen Tavern Inn, which is another very well-known Ventura County hotspot in Santa Paula. And yeah, we do the research, definitely.
Okay. But how do you conduct the investigation? What equipment do you use? Do you use a before you go to an investigation, do you use an intake sheet where you ask questions that may affect the outcome of the investigation?
No, to tell you the truth, this is going to sound, I hope it doesn't sound lame, but we go in knowing the history.
Okay.
And we'll just go in and we first thank Spirit for allowing us to receive messages. That's how we start every investigation. And then we just want them to tell us the story.
Okay.
We want them to tell us their story. And what we have understood from the situation, that someone was shot, is that accurate? And they actually come through and they tell us. And it's very, when you hear some of their voices, like Calvin is the famous cowboy. I think he was a cowboy actor actually at the Glen Tavern Inn. He was being very cordial. He's like, "Oh, please have a seat." And we didn't feel any fear. Brandon's little wallet chain got tugged, so that was a little and we have that on video. But no, we don't actually. The funny thing is, when we do go on investigations where other big investigators have gone, we don't care what they've caught. We don't care what their outcome is. Ours is usually based on not having any fear about it. We don't make anything scary. Our investigative equipment is all non-invasive. So it's just a video camera, night camera, a couple digital recorders, because let me tell you, sometimes those batteries do drain and you don't want to miss anything. And so we just go in very, casually, actually. And we do have a cool investigation at the Henry Levy House that was in Oxnard. That was maybe 2 years ago. It was amazing. That's all in video. And what we were able to capture was the woman that actually died in the house, and she told us how she died. And it wasn't anything like ominous. It was an accident. And it was so cool because the owners, their not ex-friends, but their friends that had passed, they were coming through. So it's kind of like that kind of an outcome. We just want to, it's about the truth. So that's where we come from. We want the truth about what happened and why they're around. You know, why maybe there might be some activity here. Sometimes it's to protect people. Sometimes it's just like they want people to know what happened, or they're just keeping an eye out on things. We don't believe that they're actually stuck. I think they get excited when they see people coming in, and they know that we're going to be recording them.
How do they know?
Well, that's a good question. I think they know everything. They know we've had situations where we're doing a over the phone investigation, and then they'll say this name, and then a client that we've never heard from calls and says this is what their name is, and we're like, wait a minute, we got a message that this person did not relate to. Does this mean anything? And they're like, yeah, that's my cousin. So they know they're going to get someone to call. They know someone's going to be there.
All right, Joanne, stand by. We've got to take our second break for this hour. X Zone Nation, Joanne AZOO is our guest. And once again, their website is www.ojiparanormalinvestigators.com. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell, and the April edition of the X Chronicles newspaper is available for one and all with our compliments. You read it online, 92 full-color pages at www.xchronicles.net. That's XCHRONICLES.net. We'll be back on the other side of this break, and you're listening to us on the X Zone Broadcast Network on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed at 1220.ca.
For showing me the meaning of
How can you tell me how much you missed me? When the last time I saw you, you wouldn't even kiss me. That rich guy you've been seeing must have put you down. So welcome back, baby, to the post side of town.
And welcome back, everyone. Joanne AZOO is our guest. We're talking about EVPs as well as paranormal investigations. Let me ask you this. How do you deal with skepticism?
Well, you know what? Skepticism kind of doesn't bother me because my son, who is a seer and goes on these investigations and hears them, he goes in as a skeptic every time. So I would say I don't try to change anybody's minds, but I can tell you the ones that have called, because they might have so many questions and there's nowhere else to turn. When they get information, they have to start questioning even more. So skeptics, hey, I don't blame them, right? I was a skeptic. I didn't listen to the EVP session when I did it the first time. So, and I understand that. So I would just say that a few people, and I knew he was a jeweler / magician / rocket scientist who kind of just would laugh at me and say, oh, come on, EVP really? And I'm like, no, really. And then one day a message came through on someone else's session, and they said his name, and they said a few other things. And so I went to him, I said, hey, I got a message for you. And he looks at me, he's like, okay. And I tell him this information, which was just basic, but he's like, nobody would know that would be my middle name and that they called me Uncle Frank, and that's not even my name, and blah, blah, blah. So he's like, okay, you know what? There's something to it because there's no way you'd know that. And that was it. He didn't want to hear it. Didn't matter, But hey, I think it's cool. I would rather have someone be a little skeptical than just believe anything. We try to debunk a lot of things. I don't like that using that word, but there's nothing else, no other word that I could use right now, but it's fine. But I have had people where they're like, hey, we don't really buy into this, but my wife, she's not sure, and then they get the information that they need, and they're kind of their mind is blown a little bit.
Now, I understand you do long distance EVPs as well using the phone. Am I correct?
Yes, I do over the phone, and again, everything is free. We just have to set up a time, and in a 10-minute session, we could, I'll tell you, we don't have a lot of new content on our website or on our YouTube channel, because a lot of the investigations we do are very sensitive. So we do work a lot with murder cases and suicide cases. So we don't post. So we're not really interested in getting a lot of content. It's just basically helping people and getting the truth. And we do get substantial leads in murder cases.
Now, when you say when you say you work murder cases, do you work them with law enforcement agencies?
No, you know what? We try to work directly, but I don't know. For some reason, maybe, in LA, they just might not have the time. But we've worked with our clients, like who have lost their loved ones, who will take that information to the detectives working on the case, and they will verify those are the names that they're looking for. That's what happened. And so there's so much validation that I'm just hoping that one day, they'll let us work with them. I actually became a volunteer for the police department, but I haven't, and that was just recently. I'm like, look, I have to help you guys, right? But I don't have to look at records. I don't have to look at files. I don't even have to know the last name of someone. I don't even have to know the first name. We'll get that information. It's pretty amazing. We were asked to be on a couple of shows. However, because of the nature of the murders, I'm like, yeah, I think that we're good. Sure. I'm just going to supply the information. We don't need to be looking over our shoulders, But that's what we, basically work on. And there's so much validation. And again, I think it's really cool when they could recognize their loved one's voice. That's a really cool thing. But they will give information, Rob, leading up to the actual point of when their life expires. They will tell us every detail, which is confirmed to the client by the police.
I'd just like to go back to the working on the murder cases.
Sure.
Let's say you go to a location, you are working with the client and not the law enforcement agency. You get an EVP that you believe could be significant to the case. You give that EVP to the client, who in turn gives it to the police. Right?
They will give it to the police. And just to clarify, we do not go to any murder site. We don't have to.
Okay.
People, when they call, like if they're calling about, like they're thinking, we're getting paranormal activity, they don't need to be on that location. It doesn't have to be at night. We do a lot of things during the day because it really doesn't matter. Frequency is going to come through. We don't encounter static where you can't get messages, during a certain time. So that's
But if I could just get back to my question. Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You give this information over to the client goes to the police and gives them the information. If that case goes to court and the information that you've supplied the client that is given to the police, are you called in to validate that you in fact did that and that you are the person who recorded that message, and that message that the police has not been tampered with?
No, we have never gone to court. We have cases that have gone to court because Spirit will tell us where to find evidence in order to bring those people to court.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how that works. We can give names, they'll never, I don't believe, I hope there will be a time when they'll let Spirit be on the, be up giving their testimony. But really, this has to deal with, and I think we know that they're going to think that people are crazy. Like, oh yeah, the victim gave it. Yeah, the victim has that information, and they will give it to us, and we will give it to the client. But it's hard evidence. It's not just something that's just words, right? Because that doesn't mean anything. But it's when they find out the steps, they find out who else is involved, they find the things that were used, and even the forensics says, yeah, that was part of that. That wouldn't happen to that person's head, okay? So not to go into really nitty-gritty detail, that information is legit, but to take it to court, the people will take the evidence to court, but we help them find the evidence.
Okay, you say that you do long-distance EVPs. How does that work?
Same with frequency. It's just frequency. It doesn't matter. And we found out accidentally because there was a client that was local, but he called during a skeptic, an attorney is skeptic, but he's like, I'm calling, you guys need to come out. We have little kids. Whenever there's little kids involved, we always want to, like they're getting scared or they're afraid for their children. But, so I'm like, look, I can't get out there. I can't get anyone else to come with me. It's during the week. But we can experiment. Let's do over the phone. And he's like, I go, I don't know if it's going to work, but let's just try it. And it worked. I just hold the cell phone up to the recorder and we're talking, just like you and I.
Okay.
Tell them to leave some gaps.
Okay.
And
Whoa, slow down here. Let's just take a little break here and think about something. When you go into a house to do an EVP reading, do you do a benchmark to see if there's any electromagnetic frequencies, if there's any iPhones in the location, if there's any Bluetooth or any internet that has pods throughout the house?
absolutely, yes. We go around with our EMF detectors. Sometimes we'll find an outlet that might be spiking. Yes, we do all of that.
All right, now hold on. Calm down. Take a deep breath.
I'm all excited. I'm ready to go on an investigation with you, Rob. Come on.
So how do you do it on the phone if you can't take benchmark readings from your location to the location where the call is going?
Well, they're usually, because they're, look, to tell you the truth, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, they're on the phone. I'm assuming that they're using Wi-Fi, but we're not getting any static or anything. I just know that we're going to get messages, and if they're validating, if they come through and they're validating all of the things that these people are talking about, and they know who passed and their names are coming through. Frequency is frequency. If we're going to get help from different radio waves, etc., well, that's fine. I know we talk about what is the fear cages? Well, that definitely will cause static, but we have never really had an issue with that. The messages coming through are very clear, and we do not amplify or clear any pops or any kind of noise. We don't. If we should get those on our recorder, we're giving them raw, the raw audio that we have. So we're not tampering with it.
So what kind of, I'm still trying to understand how you do it long distance, because there is so much interference. You get fade-ins, fade-outs, you get cross channels. You get so much that unless you account for this when you do a benchmark test walking throughout the residence, I just find it very surprising.
Well, you know what? I don't really know how to answer that. All I know is that I could show you during a break if you have a couple minutes or another time, and I'll just do a recording with you over the phone and kind of show you, because you're in Canada, and I could kind of show you how that works. I don't have the answers to how it works. All I know is that is that it does,
Okay.
and they're very clear. It's almost like they're right next to you.
Okay,
They're well, they are standing right next to you.
we have to take our
So-
final break, so please stand by. Exo Nation, our guest is let me see, Joanne AZOO, and we're talking about electronic voice phenomena, paranormal investigations, and much more. I'll be back on the other side as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming classic1220.ca.
How can you tell me?
Well, I spent a lifetime looking for you. Single bars and good time lovers were never true. Playing a fool's game, hoping to win. And telling the
Welcome back, everyone. Joanne AZOO is our special guest, and she is with OJAI Paranormal Investigators, and their website is ojiparanormalinvestigators.com. You know what? I'm going to take you up on that offer. How long would it take you to set up your equipment so you can record us?
Literally, I put new batteries in earlier, so I can do that.
Let's do
I
it.
can do that pretty easily.
Well, let's do it.
Okay. All right. I would never do. Oh, that's the other thing. I'm very respectful to people and spirit because I won't do anything unless I get permission, even when I'm on the phone before
Sure.
doing a session. I
Yeah.
always ask. And let me turn this one on. I always use two recorders.
Sure.
And by the way, what's really interesting, Rob, too,
Yeah.
is that two different recorders could yield different messages.
Wow.
Based on frequency. I know it sounds strange, but maybe 30% different messages on one.
Okay, so how does this work now?
All right, so what I'm doing is I put the recorders on
Okay.
and I'm basically going to start recording with your permission.
Sure.
So I'd like to thank Spirit for allowing us to receive messages. And I'd like to thank you, Rob, for allowing me to record this.
Oh,
and
my
let's see
pleasure.
what comes through.
All right.
So, yeah.
So now we
So
just
for-
talk?
Yeah, if there are any questions that you might have or someone that you want to reach out to, or you don't have to ask anything.
Yes. My sister. Her name is
Okay.
Lauren.
Her name is what? I'm sorry.
Lauren, Lauren.
Okay, and as we do this, I might ask you to say something, but you don't need to.
Okay.
And they kind of just use our energy, and
Right.
like I said, a very casual kind of recording.
Right.
And even though I can't hear anything, sometimes I will
Yes,
get sometimes I'll get someone touching me, or I might feel, I might hear something. And even if I don't, I know we're getting something.
So how long have you been doing this professionally? You and your
Since
son?
since 2006.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you get EVPs on audio track. Do you also, when you and your son go out and you take your video cameras, do you also get video impressions of spirits?
That's a pretty tricky thing to capture, but I could say we do get anomalies. So either the camera, the automatic focus will blur for no reason, but we will get corresponding sounds, like at the Bella Majoran, the woman moaning, actually. It was
Right.
like she walked right in front of us. But I will say that it's very, very rare that we will get video anomalies. However, the reason we do it is so that when I'm going through EVP, let's say there are like 5 people in the house and we're walking through an investigation, I might not really recognize the living people's voices. And I want to make sure that, he's got a camera on people so that I don't usually mess up, but I just want to make sure that, was that him going, or, right? It's kind of like a way of us to debunk something if we're not sure, because we won't put something out there if we're not sure. So it kind of helps us in that aspect and cool stuff. I could tell you on video, we will capture obviously sound, and we will capture a lot of phantom sounds, which are really cool.
Now, when it comes to the paranormal, do you guys go out and investigate in cemeteries? And if you do, what is your take on orbs?
Oh, orbs, they're real. Orbs are real. We've seen them in person in our house and outside. It's really strange. But taking, and this is in real time, not with cameras.
Right.
But what's really interesting, when we get them on camera, if it's on video, the first thing I do is I listen. I have to listen. It could be a bug or it could be a message. And sometimes they are messages. So I find that those are legitimate spirit orbs when I could hear them. In photos, sometimes if you could see faces in them, that's pretty cool.
Cool. Now, have you taken enough tape to tell if anybody is here and if there's any messages?
No, I haven't gone through this. So I could turn off the recorders now and then I could do that, but I wouldn't be able to do that. Okay, for instance, if I only had recorded for 2 minutes, I could do that. We went to the MGM Paranormal Convention 2 years ago, and we did 2-minute sessions where the client would sit across from us and would split our headphones, and they'd hear their grandparents and loved ones coming through. So it's pretty cool.
Well, couldn't you just do the first 2 minutes of the tape and see what we've got? Because I'd like to share it with the listeners.
Sure, absolutely.
All righty, let's do that.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, I'm just going to let the listeners know how they can get a hold of you. XO Nation, our guest this hour is Joanne AZOO. And for more information about Joanne, visit their website at www.ojaiParanormalinvestigators.com. And they are in, Woodland Hills, California. All right. Do you need a little bit more time?
Yeah, I'm just going to upload. 1 second. I have to go to WavePad and do this.
Okay.
Tell you what came through.
Isn't modern technology great?
It is. When I first started, I was calling everybody, like all the ghost hunting shops and stuff. I'm like, look, I'm getting so many EVP that do you guys have a faster software? They didn't believe me. And I'm like, look, if I had money, I'd fly you out here. But,
Sure.
they just thought I was like crazy, which is okay. Hold on, it takes me a while to get that up there.
Okay.
Also, EVP works, just so you know, we just found out it works with nonverbal autism.
Oh, cool.
And dementia, as well as coma. So we've worked with all 3 of those.
All right, we've got...
And someone that didn't want to ask a question. Okay, so give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm going to listen to this one faster. Sorry, guys. Okay.
How are we doing?
Oh, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
It almost sounds like they're saying Rachel. So Lauren didn't come through. I don't know if Rachel means anything.
How come I can't hear anything?
Hold on.
Huh, Rachel, that's interesting.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. They said, this is loose. Wait, I don't know. There's something about he is closing, but I have to like listen to it again. I know I'm under the crunch.
Do they acknowledge that my sister over there, or is nobody knows her?
But, oh well, I'm trying to get confirmation.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. Wait. Yeah, it's going to take me a little bit.
Okay.
Well, but they did say Rachel, and a man came through. Sounded like, it sounded like a man. It kind of had your same tonation, but it wasn't you. So I'll go through that. I'll just like text you guys later.
Sure, I'd appreciate that, and thank you very much for doing this on the fly. It's appreciated.
Oh yeah.
Where do you see what you're doing going into the future as technology advances?
I'll be using updated recorders. What I don't like using is, and I haven't yet, but a lot of ghost hunters will use the the radio waves. I don't know what that equipment's
Spirit
called,
box?
but it's kind of spirit box.
Yeah.
I find though, because we get such clear EVP, I find that would be very annoying. Not only to me, but to spirit. We don't need to do that.
But how come how come I couldn't hear anything that was being played back, and yet you could hear it?
Oh, what? Maybe because I had. Hold on a second.
You didn't have
Maybe because I had to wear my headphones. So
I see.
That's why.
Oh, okay.
But you want me to play? You want me to play back something or?
No, because we're nearly out of time. I've got 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
But
all
you
right.
heard, I swear I'll send.
So listen, Joanne, let our listeners know where they can contact you if they would like a private EVP session, whether they're in California or anywhere in the world. How can they best contact you?
Anywhere in the world. Yes, all they have to do is email me at ohiparanormal1, the number 1, at gmail.com.
All right,
And then we could set up a time. So it's OJAParanormal1.com, and I'll be more than happy. We could set up a session.
That is super.
It only takes 10 minutes, and we'll get up to 30 messages. Yeah.
All right, I'll be very interested to hear what my messages are and to see if anybody recognizes my sister.
Right now, Rob.
All right, I'll be back. First of all, thanks very much for joining us. Continued success with you and your son. And I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone. And I'll be looking forward to share what you find out on your EVP session with me and share it with the X Zone Nation.
Well, thank you so much, Rob. Thank you.
You take care of yourself, Joanne.
It was fun. I'm going through all the stuff. I'm going to go through it right now.
Okay. Well, we've got to say so long. So, X Zone Nation, I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone with our studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. You're listening to us on the X Zone Broadcast Network. And, of course, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming at classic1220.ca. It'll be very interesting to see what Joanne finds out on our EVP session. And I promise you, I will let each and every one of you know.